Hello everyone, welcome to How Did It Begin Talk Show. I'm here again, your host Kelly, to give you always a new and fresh true story coming from our friends. We've got another hot show for you. Our today's interesting topic that will again give you a lot of informations and advices coming from our beloved audiences. How do you deal with your crazy mother-in-law? Reminder, if you are a parent out there in our audience, please be advised that the content of today's show is not appropriate for younger viewers. Today's guest is Armina, 33, living in Nigeria. She will confess her true personal story about her crazy mother-in-law. Let us listen to her confession and also let us hear beautiful advices here from our audiences.
How do you deal with your crazy mother-in-law? My husband's mom is a stage 5 clinger. She's so weird and makes me so uncomfortable. He is her only kid and she's constantly up his butt. Texts him all day long. Always wants to know every single detail about our life. If I'm alone with her and he calls me, she literally will follow me around until I shut myself in a room and then ask questions about our phone call. She babysits our daughter, and if I pick her to hold her on my breaks, I work from home, she has to follow me around and pet my daughter's head like won't leave me be. She was super cool. We used to drink beer together and play games, but once I got pregnant and we got married, she got super weird. She stated taking over our wedding planning. She got me a photo book of my daughter's birth but did not even put one photo of me in it, stopped listening to any requests I had about our daughter, etc. I had to ask her to not come babysit for a few months because she was stressing me out and causing problems in our marriage by her lack of respect for me as a mother to my own daughter, and she cried and wouldn't let go of my kid. She's got ton of friends and she's married. She's not lonely. Not to mention she's a total bitch to her husband too.
You need to find new daycare. Preferably one that if you fired them, holidays won't be awkward. Your dear husband needs to set the boundaries you both agree on, or it's not a mother-in-law problem, it's a dear husband problem.
Oh dear, the most important thing is that your husband and you are in the same page. He may claim that's the way she is, but you have also the right to be the way you are, with your rules and your boundaries. Be very firm about this or very harsh times may come. Other partner should also remind dear husband that just because that is how she is does not make it okay or appropriate.
I am so sorry you have to deal with this. My ex-mother-in-law was batshit crazy, not to mention a Bible thumper, not an organized religion, mind you. She decided to interpret the Bible on her own. All I can say is you're gonna definitely need your spouse on board with you and backing you up with all decision making, or it may not work out in the long run.
No, you were not. Yeah, we've had multiple fights thanks to her. He thinks I'm mean to her for no reason. I can see it being a problem.
Your dear husband needs to shut this behavior down hard. His circus, his monkeys. Honestly, her crying and clinging to the child is not healthy for her or the baby. She obviously needs some time away from the baby to get her emotions and actions in line. You and dear husband should have a long, deep conversation about limiting her access to all of you. I would also figure out exactly what your boundaries and expectations are. Also, what are the consequences going to be when she stomps all over your boundaries? She needs to understand first that her son is grown-ass man with a family of his own. The constant calls and need to know all about your life is excessive. Second, just because she is the grandmother doesn't entitle her to shit. Period. Being a grandparent is a privilege, not a right. The first step to being a good grandparent is respecting the actual parents and what they say for their child. Grandparents do not make the rules. She should always ask permission to come by and not just show up. If she's told it isn't a good day for visitors, yes, she's a visitor, she shouldn't use emotional manipulation to get her way. You and dear husband have the power to change this situation. You can't change her, but you can change how you deal with it. She's rude, time to go. Hang up or ask her to leave. She'll fight you and whine to everyone with a bullshit sob story of how she's an innocent victim of her mean daughter-in-law. I'd let the people close to you know exactly what's going on so she can't use triangulation or gatekeeping and ignore the tantrum. She wants attention and control. You both have the power to take that from her. But you have to do it together. If he caves when you're not around, it's all for nothing. Good luck.
It's called emotional incest and a do-over baby. Right now to her you are a complete non-entity. The old shitbag would love nothing more than you to get out of the picture so she can raise your kid.
It sounds like she is, in her head, substituting your husband for her husband. I would put some distance between her and your little family. No more babysitting, fewer visits, etc.
I honestly always feel that way. She has intimacy problems with her husband and is always complaining to me about it, and she treats him like garbage and then puts my husband up on this insane pedestal and was even trying to pay for all these bills of his behind her husband's back that when I asked her to stop, her husband said he had no idea that was going on. It's so ridiculous. Oh, and not to mention that birth photo book that didn't include me. The first photo when you open the book was her and my husband hovering over my daughter in her little plastic crib moments after she was cleaned up after being born. Not one photo of me but one giant first photo of them with her fresh into this world.
Have you seen Smothered? She sounds like a version of Cher where she became upset that she'd be replaced in her daughter's life by her grandchild. No respect for her daughter's husband and is offended when he wants time with just his newborn and wife. In terms of what to do, boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. And stick to them. It's like tough love that parents show kids, but the opposite way. Some parents cannot grow and develop with their kids, so they are desperate to feel needed by their kids. She cannot comprehend seeing you or her son as functional adults, and letting go a little. So, you have to build boundaries to establish roles. Be kind and gentle, but firm and consistent.
Set boundaries, set consequences, enforce them. Do this in writing, emails, texts, call her out if she lies, overreacts.
Yikes. Well, you can distance yourself and your child from her, but any long-term solution will require your husband's cooperation. I suggest that y'all try counseling. Dear husband will need to recognize that his mother's behavior is not normal. His normal meter is broken. It's going to take a while because it's probably what he grew up with. I've got to admit, people that are weepy waifs drive me nuts. I want to tell them to suck it up and start adulting.
Well, he definitely realizes it's not normal, but his approach is ignoring her. He and I have tried time and time again to talk to her, and she has everyone believing she's just forgetful, which I don't believe. She acts like a whole different person when my husband and her husband aren't around. She would come to babysit alone sometimes and would say petty and rude things to me and have a total fucking attitude. But when her husband around, she's so sweet and innocent. My husband's step-sister says the same thing, that it's all a front.
Find a new sitter. I know it's not an option for everyone, but I had to completely cut out both my BF's parents because they too demanded to know out every waking move, among other things that is none of their business. Issues. I just couldn't take the drama anymore. If it's not an option, I would lay down some heavy boundaries, and every time she steps over them, it's time out, no babysitting, no calls, etc., whatever, for any amount of days.
My mother-in-law is super overbearing also. She also makes photo albums and rarely includes pics of me, but does with spouse. She even takes pics from my IG, where there are plenty of pics with me and little one, but bypasses them. She never listened to us when it came to care for our little one, and I also didn't feel respected as a mother by her. It's tough dealing with someone who thinks their adult child is still a kid and acts as if you're playing house, but also acts like little one is their property. Also someone who can never acknowledge when they are wrong. We ended up having to put little one in daycare due to mother-in-law's inconsistent schedule, and it was a huge weight off both me and spouse's shoulders. I know there's a pandemic right now and you may not feel comfortable doing that right now. This was pre-pandemic for me, and there were no more anxiety-ridden drives home from work.